parts that you can actually move within the mount. And that was also very challenging on Java as well. We had a lot of bugs, like we had a lot of trails of bugs, and most of the bugs were actually like relating to that component. But we got that ready, so that's good.
Yeah, and the camels are so cute. I'm not gonna lie. Their little ears. It's the ears. It gets me every time. The animation there. Let's see.
Yeah,
Or is that? You go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Mish. I think for every update, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. As a Minecraft fan for a long time before working at Mojang, it's difficult to appreciate just how much work goes into a lot of this stuff. As far as 1.20 and technical challenges, for the Realms team, we had an interesting bit with the sniffer because we wanted to test the sniffer on Realms to make sure it worked properly. But we didn't want to reveal the sniffer yet to players. We were kind of like waiting for the right moment to show it off. So there was some tricky parts in getting the sniffer on the realm, but also having it hidden behind a feature toggle and not revealed. The 1.20 wasn't nearly as dramatic as Caves and Cliffs Part 2, though. When all the chunks in the world are 50% bigger, that was a lot of work to make sure, hey, our server is still going to be able to run the game with these much larger world, 50% more data in the world, roughly. So that was a whole lot of work. Lots of people across the studio working together to make that happen. Very excited though with our new terrain. Oh, it feels so epic every time I go on an adventure.
Yeah, I remember we had an AMA last year, and one of the questions was like, "What's the most technically difficult thing you did?" Without fail, they were like, "Oh, making the world size much bigger." Like by far, that was the most difficult thing I had to deal with. So I am not surprised to hear that brought up again. So speaking of technical limits, go with a little seg here. We have a question that was posted on our Instagram that more than a few people liked it as well. So a number of people are interested in this. So it reads, okay, I really need you guys to address if you will be raising the player limit on Realms. I have loads of friends who've told me they'd even pay more for the subscription if it meant more than 10 of us can be on at once. Please let us know if you plan to implement a solution. Thanks so much.
I love this question. I love the enthusiasm for more players on Realm. So we would love this as well. There's kind of 3 big feature requests that people make about Realms often. So I like listening to the community. I like hearing what people are passionate about Realms. And it's always, I want more players. I want more render distance. And sometimes the third one, I want more simulation distance. I want my chunks to tick farther away from where players are. So these are tricky to add because they make the server that's running your realm has to work harder the more players can be on it. And some things can get really tricky, if you can imagine. Like some players are in the end, some are in the nether, some are in the overworld. Like that can get pretty demanding on the server. But that said, it is possible to run Minecraft servers with lots of players, and we are exploring these. In fact, I'll say this. In the next year, we're probably going to do some experiments that you may be able to take part in for larger render distance on realms. We did increase it last year, which was very popular. I was very excited we could do it. But we would like to increase the render distance even more. So stay tuned on that. As far as more player limits, we'll probably experiment with that in the future. I can't say when.
Experiment. My favorite kind.
Yeah, experiment the keyword. We want to try it out, see how does it work. You have to measure, like, it's a very complicated system. Lots of things happen when you turn those numbers up. So if we just crank them up and don't do any of the work behind the scenes, sometimes it doesn't turn out very well.
No, I mean, it's hardware and software with Realms specifically, right? So that makes it even more complicated.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun challenge. I love building this kind of stuff. And you're helping people.
We wouldn't be here if we didn't like a
Minecraft
challenge, right?
Exactly.
All right, I'm gonna switch up gears a little bit because I really love this question, and since we have Sarah here, like I definitely want to make sure that she can give her thoughts here. So this is a question on our Discord, and it says, "For the pixel artists, what is your favorite feature you made pixel art for in this update?"
Oof, it's tough to say. Yeah, because I feel like, of course, I love the sniffer. That was a lot of fun to work on. All the the different plants that related to that were a lot of fun too, especially researching them and trying to figure out what would work visually in game. Um, I think archaeology was kind of fun with the decorated pots and coming up with the different patterns and stuff that would work on a 16 by 16 canvas. There's I don't know. I feel like that's what always appeals to me with pixel art is it could be a bit of a challenge to convey different things. So with archaeology, conveying different iconography and stuff was a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah. I would say I think it's tough to say, but I think maybe archaeology for the challenge, and I think probably the sniffer plants just for the aesthetic and just because I enjoy working on plant related stuff.
Yeah, like when you hear, oh, it's 16 by 16, you're like, oh, that's not that much. You know, that's easy. You don't have that much to work with, but that actually can make it much more difficult. I've tried to do pixel art, in the past, doing little game dev on the side. I find it way more difficult than actually just drawing something.
Yeah, definitely could be pretty tricky, but I think that's kind of what appeals for me.
Yeah, so speaking of the sniffer, we did have a question on Twitter more about its ideation in general. So this person asks, quote, did the sniffer have any inspiration or ideas for its creation?
So technically, I did not do the conceptual stuff for the sniffer. I had come in and did texture work and stuff related to that. But conceptually, seeing the concepts for the sniffer, I think the idea was to convey something that was just kind of dopey, but this kind of big, gentle giant kind of creature. And as soon as I saw the concepts, I was like, oh my god, I absolutely love this. So yeah,
Cute.
yeah, it's definitely a fun creature for sure.
Yeah, no, sniffer is definitely it blew the mob vote up. I mean, people really love the sniffer. We did have one question from Twitter. It's half a question and half a request for help, which I know some of the folks in here are pretty savvy at Minecraft, so maybe we can kind of help them out a little bit. So this question is, why did you make the sniffer egg a 6% chance of finding? I've drowned 87 times. Which I feel very bad for them. I also tend to drown when trying to find stuff too, so I feel their pain. So was there kind of a reason behind having these ruins and these sniffer eggs be so not easy to just run out and grab really quick? And if anybody has any suggestions for this poor person to figure out how to stop drowning when they're finding them, I think they'd appreciate that too.
Well, for drowning tips, I would say magma blocks or water breathing potions are great options, or you could have a conduit. There's lots of fun gameplay ways to survive that. I think this update, I'm sure people in the vanilla team will talk more to it, was really about exploring and having adventures and roaming the trails and the tails. So I think if there were sniffer eggs in every single chest in, underwater, you wouldn't explore and have as much of an adventure. Of course, the flip side of that is when you're looking for that silence trim and you're going through ancient city after ancient city, that could be quite the challenge.
Yeah, I think with the sniffer, we wanted it to be relatively rare, so you have the satisfaction of bringing back this extinct species.
And it's also not the only thing that you would be looking for. Basically, with the same place where you can find sniffer eggs, you can now find the pottery shards as well as armor trims. So that's the same kind of adventure that you'll basically go for. And even if you're not looking for a sniffer egg, you might find it. So it's not that you are just going for the sniffer egg. I hope so.
That is true. There is a lot to find in those now, which is awesome and makes braving the waters and going far away from your base definitely worth it. So speaking of things spawning, we have another question from Twitter, and this one's about camels specifically. This person is asking, why do camels only spawn in desert villages and not desert biome?
Yeah, I can answer this one. I think the idea is that camels are usually really connected to civilization, like they're used as a mean of transport for people and goods. So that was the original idea. That yeah, it's something that I don't know if the villager use them, but yeah, at least maybe they breed them. So that's why they stay in villages. We didn't want them to be only a wild animal, but yeah, something which is specifically connected with civilization. But these in turns make them really hard to find. So yeah, it's something we're thinking about. Yeah.
And also it is important to note that that basically because of that, the camels don't need taming. So you can just hop into the village and grab a saddle and grab the camel and be able to ride on it. And the reason is because they are already tamed by the villagers. So this all kind of ties all together. That's why you can't find them wild.
I feel like that opens up a bit of like a moral quandary though. Are you stealing a villager's camel when you do that? Like
You're just
Technically,
borrowing it.
yeah,
Players
technically villagers also have like villager pens with other villagers
oh, okay,
in them.
okay.
Yeah.
You're just borrowing it.
Borrowing it. It'll be fine.
Yes.
Villagers are very generous.
True. All right, where's that one? So this one's a very fun question. This one is from Discord. And I'm gonna have to spell it out because just saying it doesn't actually, it doesn't give the full thing. So this individual wanted to ask, how many times have y'all said trails and tails, but tails is spelled T-A-I-L-S? Now, I will say for myself personally, more times than I'm willing to admit. But I'm not going to lie, I actually keep reversing it. So I keep accidentally saying or typing tails and trails rather than trails and tails. What about you all?
Yeah, I think it happened as well. I'm pretty sure that even in code where we were working on the trails ruins, they have initially been spelled tails ruins, and then they were yeah, that was noticed and fixed. So yeah, it happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should have. We should have called that update TNT update, and there will be no problems.
That's actually what we call it on the community team because we kept mixing it up. It's like, just call it TNT. It's fine. It's like an explosively fun time, right? We'll go with that.
Yeah, I've made the same mistake as you, Mish, where I keep saying tails and trails instead of trails and tails, and yeah, eventually I just started shortening it down to TNT as well, which didn't help if we were talking about a specific bug and someone thought I meant that we had messed up the TNT block.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. Actually, different seg. So, speaking of explosions, this was an interesting question because I'd not seen it before, and I mean I know the answer, but I want you all to assure this person. So, one person on Discord said that I've heard creepers are removed in the last update, but I'm not sure if this is true. Could you confirm if it's true? I'd not heard of that, so.
I think only Herobrine was removed with the last update.
I would go out in a dark forest in the game and do a little research and see, are the creepers removed?
Yeah, you never know. Only one way to find out, right?
We risked accidentally removing pigs on Bedrock, like we noticed a few days before the update went out. And considering that creepers were supposed to be pigs, then yeah, I guess we went close to that.
Where's that one question? Oh yeah, this one was really fun because this is more kind of like about the thought process behind adding things to the game. So this is another question from our Discord. When adding any block set to Minecraft, do you all aim to introduce new colors/hues to the game for builders to work with?
I would say yes. I know, especially with the plants, I was really looking into different dyes that are a little bit rarer. Because I think it's important to have a little bit more variety, and I kind of laid out our existing plants and just kind of seeing from there. Because I do think it's important to have a little bit of diversity when it comes to colors.
I know Jeppa, our lead texture artist, shared a lot of his texture work, particularly for caves and cliffs, like redoing the ores. There was a lot of discussion around like colors and designs, and if you're colorblind, like, can you distinguish the ores? And so there's lots of thought that goes into it. I enjoy watching.
Yeah, that actually brings to mind a question that I had read, but unfortunately didn't copy down here about the suspicious sand in relation to folks who are colorblind. So when it does come to the accessibility features like color blindness and things like that, just is there kind of a process behind that? Does anybody here kind of really work with people on that to make sure that we're able to let as many people as possible enjoy the game?
I can speak to that some. We do accessibility testing very regularly on our entire product, so new features and old features, to make sure that we are allowing as many people as possible to play. So that we're always trying to keep that in mind, but sometimes we have to change things to try to make sure that we are meeting those standards, so that everybody can enjoy the game.
Yeah, I think especially with the suspicious sand and suspicious gravel, it's definitely finding that like fine line between like making it challenging for players, but not making it inaccessible for players at the same time.
Yeah, no, I know that's something a lot of people keep in the foreground of their mind with this stuff because we want as many people to play as possible.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of work that goes into it. It can be a fun challenge to put yourself in different types of players' shoes, but we have to do work around like you should be able to use any type of input. If you're visually impaired, you should still be able to navigate and figure out what's going on. And like colors, some people see colors differently. There's different tools you can use to see your application as different people would see it, which is really, it can be really enlightening. And then there's globalization. Different colors mean different things in different parts of the world. And Minecraft is a global game everyone plays, so you have to broaden your perspective sometimes.
Hmm.
And me working with Java Triage and basically triaging bugs, we also put a lot of effort into making sure that bugs that affect accessibility are basically triaged very high and are very important. And always like basically we cannot find all the like different player types and like different player restrictions that they need to face. So going through bugs actually often enlightens us and like, oh, what if like we use a brush left-handed and stuff like that. So yeah, on the bug triage, I know that when looking through bugs, accessibility issues are extremely important, and we always put them on the top of the list.
Hmm. Yeah, so I know that like we're talking about player experience right now, and we have one person on Instagram who asked a question. They said, "Hey Mojang or Mojang." I know there's a debate about which one do you say depending on where you live and things like that. 7 years ago was 1.10, and 7 years ahead might be 1.30. What aspects of the player experience are you focusing on improving? Now, that's a broad question, but I know a lot of you here really think about that a lot. So,
I guess I'll
And
go first.
I'll go for it. Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
I mean, I don't want to be sarcastic here, but we really are looking always at all parts of the game. But I would say that each major update, we really look around the features that support new changes. So with the camel coming in, we really look at mounts in general and the desert and some of the areas you might use such a new animal type. But overall, we're always looking and listening to player feedback and trying to improve all aspects of the game. So it's interesting. We've always got a bunch of different experiments and different explorations going on. And then each major update will kind of see different areas come into focus as we start making improvements and additions. And we're always kind of looking across the entire game, trying to keep it as interesting and entertaining, both for new players and for players who are coming back just for those big updates.
One of the great things about Minecraft is it's a game that just is always new and there's always something new coming on. You'll see people play it a whole bunch and they take a break and they come back and it's like coming home. Like, ooh, it's familiar, but there's something new. What's the suspicious sand over here? So I love that aspect of the game. As far as realms and thinking, where do we want to go? So one of the fun things about Minecraft is the community. Minecraft has an amazing community and there's some incredibly creative people. And lots of people play multiplayer Minecraft together, and they've built their own mods and tools and server software and stuff. So it's fun to look at, hey, what do the Minecraft community people envision playing multiplayer Minecraft, and how can we adapt that to Realms? How can we make things even more valuable for our players and take them into new Minecraft adventures? Yeah, 1.30, I would love to see. I have lots of ideas.
Yeah, I thought it was like, yeah, I want to go that far. Let's keep going. All right, so one last kind of like harder question, like a harder hitting one. We're gonna have a fun one right before we sign off in 10 minutes. But this one is a Java specific question and it was posted on our Instagram. And this player would like to know, why is Redstone different for Java and Bedrock? Wouldn't it be simpler to make Redstone function the same throughout platforms?
I would say this is as much a Java question as a Bedrock question.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, it's just functions differently because it was implemented differently before. Now we are striving to get our gameplay in parity, and all our new features that we are pushing out through updates are meant to be fully compatible with each other. However, there are certain differences from the past, and we will eventually get through them, but they are not part of our yearly cadence that we are working on, like individual updates. That might be like a separate challenge.
Yeah, that they can be very complicated to make an older engine kind of act the same. Now, Dorex, I know that you talk about parity every single week, twice a week in that meeting with me. That's a big thing that we focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. We want the experience to be as similar as possible between Bedrock and Java. Redstone is a system that is far more complicated than, again, me as a non-coding, non-developer. I've asked the same question internally, and it just turns out there are some differences in how Java works as an engine compared to Bedrock that make getting exact parity on Redstone very difficult. And as was mentioned, we're trying to get there. It's tricky, and we hope that at some point we will be able to converge those. But again, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, no, it's very complicated balance. I know we keep saying that word over and over, but it really is such a big part of game development, making sure you're balancing, what you can do, what you want to do, what the players want us to do, that kind of thing. Make sure it's all fun and functional at the end of the day. It really is a juggling act sometimes.
Well, and to one of the earlier questions on when does a bug, because it's been around so long, become a feature, sometimes the differences that aren't in parity have become kind of built in and how players on either Java or Bedrock expect things to behave. So then it's even kind of a more difficult choice for us to, do we go to parity, but then change one of those experiences, or do we keep things not at parity and try to figure out a different solution that might help us get closer to things matching up between the platforms.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna ask one more question. This one's from our Twitter. I giggled at this one, but then I thought about it and did a little research, and I'm curious if anybody has any insight in regard to the cherry groves. So this person asks, if cherry tree, why no cherries?
Well, man, I had this exact question myself, and I went down a rabbit hole of Wikipedia and some other sources a little while back. But before I answer, I'm curious if anyone that actually created this feature had any thoughts.
I also went down that rabbit hole, so.
All right. Well, it doesn't sound like it, but you know, we definitely don't go for perfect realism in Minecraft, but we do try to usually represent it or be somewhat accurate. And it turns out that cherry trees that produce cherries that we as humans eat are different from cherry blossoms, which produce the flowers, and much smaller, much more bitter cherries that are usually only eaten by birds and some other animals. So in this case, we've actually created the cherry blossom in the game, not a cherry tree that you would use for fruit and for food.
Yeah, a bunch of people there. I'll stop.
Yeah, plus we have to remember that the only fruit that we have is apple, and it falls off the oak tree. So it will be very un-Minecrafty if we had the proper fruit coming up from a proper tree.
That's a great point. I hadn't even thought of that.
It's true. Yeah, and I will say, like, the cherry blossom trees specifically, they're called sakura, and I looked up, and you can actually eat them, but not many, because if you eat like more than a couple, they're actually kind of toxic to people. So I was like, let's not put that in the game. Was my thought when I read that. So we've got about 5 minutes left. I wanted to send us off with a really fun question. This is one that was asked on I think this one was on Twitter. But this person wanted, and I'd like everyone to answer this one. You know, this isn't a right or a wrong, it's just a preference. This person was curious, which wood type do you prefer, bamboo or cherry?
I think I like bamboo as far as collecting it because it grows so quickly. It's easy to obtain. And you can do some fun stuff with it. But the cherry wood, it just looks fantastic. I love the cherry wood.
Yeah, I think for me the cherry wood is probably my favorite. I do really like the bamboo wood for some of the different aesthetic things like the trapdoor and things like that. Like it looks phenomenal. But yeah, for me, I'm oddly enough pretty fond of like the more colorful like wood types, like the warped or like nether planks and things like that. So having nice, pretty pink planks is very, very nice.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I love the accent color of the cherry wood, and bamboo has some cool uses. I love the new raft, but yeah, if I'm going to use it for a house, I like that cherry wood.
Yeah, I really like the way you craft the bamboo. With the fact that you have to gather it, then you have to pack it together, then you have to strip it. I think that's really cool. But yeah, I'm gonna go with cherry wood as well. I like the color, feels really special. And yeah, cherry wood. Sorry, bamboo.
All right, Nimbom, you gonna break the streak here?
Yeah, I'm all for the bamboo, and the reason is bamboo is the only wood that has a variant, which is the bamboo mosaic. Made efforts to make sure that's
Well, think you're cutting out there a little bit, at least for me.
Wood matches, so that's why I like bamboo more.
Yeah, I will actually say bamboo as well, and I say that specifically because I prefer the variety it gives me as a building material. Now, if I'm looking at bamboo and I'm looking at cherry trees, I'll take cherry trees all day. Like, I don't want to cut them down. I just want more of them. I love the groves and just the ambiance of the petals falling and all of that. So, for me personally, in terms of like which wood type do I prefer, I would say bamboo. But if I'm talking about the actual plant, definitely the cherry trees.
Well, funny you mentioned that too. I've heard several people say that they feel bad chopping down the cherry trees because of how beautiful the biome is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'm
100%.
definitely one of those. All right, so we have 2 minutes left. I just wanted to take a minute real quick and again, go back around and thank all of the devs. Again, some of them came in early, some of them stayed late. Our time zones are a little far apart between Washington and Stockholm. So, we managed to balance it here. So I just want to thank everyone for all of their answers and all of the fun stories about camels and llamas. And if any of you would like to share any of your handles, like, whether it's on Twitter, something like that, some folks like to interact with the community. And if you're one of those, give you a minute to go around and say goodbyes and or share any contact info.
Yeah, thanks for running things, Mish. This was a lot of fun. My handle is CornerHardMC on Twitter, and then every place else it's CornerHard, the Reddit, Discord, Twitch, all those fun places.
I don't really have any handle nor social, but yeah, it was really nice to be here. So thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for hosting this. This is really nice. I mean, if people want to find me, they'll find me. They'll figure it out.
A little Liam Neeson there.
100%. Yeah.
Same with me. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone for submitting your questions and for coming and listening to us answer them. You can find me at Jorax79 on Twitter and occasionally in Discord as well.
All right, so that is everyone. Again, thanks devs for tuning in. Thank you everyone in the audience for tuning in. Really appreciate you all being here to listen to us talk about awesome update that we released just a couple weeks ago, Trails and Tales. If you all haven't, definitely go update your game, hop in, especially those cherry trees. I mean, we have this many people going on and on about how beautiful they are. We're onto something. So thank you all for tuning in and happy gaming.